Okay, we are back. The birthday celebration of Miss Jerri Lange. This is a wonderful time for me because I'm honored to have such a significant soul with us here to talk about our city, our family, our values, and for a person who you don't normally say a woman's age, but Jerri Lange is 93 years old, and there's a charming personality that just is bubbling over. So I'm telling you, she is an amazing woman, and I'm going to enjoy questioning her about her insights, because one of the things that everybody will tell you about Jerri Lange, she's a very kind person. And so we're going to spin on that word of kindness, and because our nation right now, and I'll tell you, today is May 12th, and I don't know if that messes up the tape, but it's my birthday. Oh. And so my 75th trip around the sun. And so I'm glad to be here with this distinguished woman to talk about some of the adventures that we've had along the way. But this time, and I gave you the date simply because in America, we're in a very unkind situation right now, in very unkind times, and people speak very harshly of each other, and the country is very divided. So, Ms. Lange, could you tell us what is the secret of a century on this planet that you've learned that you can make you smile the way you do and just be so kind to everyone?
Well, you know, I found out by accident when a guy, you know how you're talking to people just, like he said, and he meant it as a compliment, but I thought it was almost an insult. You know, he said, you know what I can't find out? Why are you always so kind? Why are you always so up? And I didn't have time to think, because who would think somebody's going to say that to you? And it came right out of my mouth. I said, because I love God and God loves me. Yeah, yeah. And I stick to that, and I'll stick to that till the day I die.
Well, that's our charge, isn't it, though?
That's right.
When I remember when Jesus was on trial, right? And they
right.
said, what are the two greatest of the commandments? And he says, love God with all your heart and soul, and love your brother.
That's right.
The way you love yourself, and everything else is commentary. So everything what you just said is just encapsulated in those two things.
And don't you often wonder why nobody gets it?
It's amazing.
I think it makes me very angry. The things that make me angry are the things that, how can we do this to each other? And I heard you talking about this. You and I talked about this the other night, as a matter of fact. Somebody's digging a grave in this country. I mean, you would think that's what. I know how wonderful it used to be. People are afraid to talk to each other, and then this whole spread about the men who are attacking women, and they're very prominent men. I mean, when you take these men off the air, you've lost something. Well,
this is a time where the institutions of our society are being challenged.
That's right.
And so if you are a hypocrite, it's going to show, because all the values that you claim to stand for is being challenged. So the institutions that we all thought was sacred without question, for me, in the 60s, that was education.
That's
so we
right.
challenged the educational establishment to include us as people and recognize us. And then women came along right behind. And then you have, gay and lesbian and all the other communities that are coming in demanding their rights. And the rights that they're demanding is that the institutions that are made for all of us treat all of us the same.
The same.
Be kind to all of us and not box people off. So I think you are a personification of that, but that's a lost value that I think that the community needs to reestablish. So how will we do that? I mean, you raise your children. You talk about that smile and that Jerri Lange. I mean, you pass it on to your son. Everybody could tell you about Isaac on the Love Boat, right? And what was the big thing about Teddy Lange? That big smile of his, and he got that from you.
Yeah, thank you.
So what is the secret of us trying to reclaim the value of just simple kindness and respect for each other?
Well, it's just that, you know what, I think we take each other for granted, started out. Now that's the start. We take each other for granted, and we shouldn't do that. Because you don't know what's happened in everybody's life. They may have to come smile with you, and he's really, his heart is breaking over some little thing about the kid or got in trouble or something. And you have to keep in mind, which I always keep in mind, and I thought to thank you, because I told you before, the nicest word you could attribute to me would be kindness. If I had any word in the dictionary, I would like somebody to say I'm kind. And kind means that nobody will withdraw from you. They'll come to you because they know you won't ever hit them, but you'll just hug them. And that's nice to have people come to you. They're not afraid to come to you. Give me that big hug, you know. And how much time does it take to give somebody a big hug? Do you know it might save their life? We don't know what they're going through.
That is true. That's why somebody used to always say, Eddie Abrams used to always say, never take a person's hope from them.
That's right.
Maybe the last thing that they have.
That's right. And you never know what a person has been through when they come out of their house. They may have said something to their wife that they didn't mean to say, and they're worried about that, and they got a frown on their face. We'll pick him up and smile. Hey, man, whatever's bothering you, it can't be that bad, you know. And you know, things like, you know, you talk to them like that, and then that's what you do. You light them up.
Yeah.
And the guy said, yeah, that's right. I needed somebody to say that. That's because your personality could remember that. And you knew that a kind word to a person, I see people, you know, I've never driven a car. I've driven a car for 1 year, and then I found out, my kids told me, Mom, you can't drive. Put it away. We will rest better if you, and it's the best thing I ever did. I'll tell you why. You cannot say good morning when you're in a car. I can say good morning to the people when they pass by me. If I look at the expression on their face, and I said, this person looks so sad, you know. And I give them a big smile, and I, you know, because I said, I don't know what went on this morning with this person in my mind. It just automatically. But he needs a little lifting. Yeah. He needs somebody to smile at him, you know.
Well, I think you smiled your way through some very big categories. I mean, you know, where personalities and outgoingness is something that in television, you were in television, you were with the Chronicle, you were with Mayor Shelley, and all of these are outward political, but they're public. Venues.
They are.
And so you have been very successful in all of your public venues along the way.
Well, you know, I have to, when you say, somebody says, well, how did you get that way? You don't really know how you get any way. But I know by reading, as much as I've read and studying the families and all that, this is what really people don't get. How you raise your children, how you treat your mother and father, how you treat your colleagues, how you treat all the members of your family that you hardly ever see. When you love all of those people, and you can feel love, call them up once in a while, but they said, I know you don't have a lot of time, but I want to talk to you. I said, I always have time for you. It's my cousin or somebody. Because you don't know how dark the thing is that they're going to come and tell you. Yeah. That their husband left them or something like that. So I wouldn't want, I guess ever since I was little, I never wanted to be the one that made people sad. I wanted to be the one that made people laugh. When you say I smile all the time, I'm smiling when I don't even know I'm smiling. I was born smiling. People, they say, Jerry, you're always smiling. I said, yeah, even when I'm sad, I'll find a way to smile.
Well, that's a great attribute.
Well, it is, because if you do smile, there's something about a smile that keeps you going. And so I smiled through, I raised my 3 kids, you know, almost by myself. And my husband died, but they were in their teens then, of course. But my point is, it's not the same. You have to become the mother and the father. And so...
well, you successfully raised a couple of magnificent gentlemen from our city here. Michael Lange, your dearly departed son, and was a stalwart for us in this studio, and all of the cultural events that we had out. loved his acting, loved the
Love.
portrayal that I first saw him do of Malcolm X, and
Oh,
it was almost you know, his signature after a while.
Yeah.
And then you know, of
And
course,
he adored that. You know, and I met him, you know, I met Malcolm X, and it'd been so long ago, and I was talking one day and thinking about, and I said, oh yeah, and I was telling Malcolm X, he was telling me about his kids. He came to do a thing for us at the school, and he came to our schools, and I told him about and Michael said, Mom, you knew Malcolm.
yeah.
You knew Malcolm X and you didn't tell me. I said, oh, Michael, I forgot. It was just part of this thing. When I was, you know, still in school, Malcolm X came to visit, and you know, we had held hands. He grabbed my hand and held it, and guess what we did? Stood up until his time was to come on and talk to the kids. We stood and talked about our children. He said, I have 5 daughters and I adore them. I said, well, I have 3 sons and I adore. So we talked the whole time. Wasn't about him, wasn't about me, it was about our kids.
Right.
And so I had that wonderful time with him. And you know, people talked about him being, you know, dangerous, you know, he portrayed himself. But I think you've met him, haven't you?
No, never did.
Well,
but you
let me
know,
tell
have
you,
been
the
a follower for all of the years that he was out there from the Nation of Islam on. You know, and I understand that he was in town here one weekend, and I never did get a chance to get over to meet him. But
well, let me tell you about this man.
but you were a television interviewer, and so you had access to all these personalities.
Oh yes, I did.
You know?
But this man, let me tell you about this man. This man loved his family, and because I'm going to Berkeley High at that time, and he's coming, and so he talked about his children, and I was telling about my children, and he was going to speak to our class that day, and I'm telling you, he was so gentle. That is the thing that throws you off. You're waiting for a gangster to come through the
Well,
through
that's
the door.
the image that that's the image that he has on television of being this militant anti. But then when you see a person in person and see them in their family setting, all of a sudden you see the softer side of them that is never put out there.
When he talked about his children, so we went back, waiting to go on, and he was going to go on too. And so I'd gone back to Berkeley High to talk about, you know, my life in the media and all that. Anyway, he was there to talk about his thing. But in the meantime, while we waited for them, I was so relaxed with him. He's so gracious and charming. He has a dazzling smile, and people try to portray him as this mean old guy, you know. And there isn't a mean bone in that man's body. He talked about his kids like with reverence, and he has 5 girls,
right.
No boys. So I mean, and that's the same thing about when you say, well, why do you smile all the time, people? Because you never really know who people are, unless they show you who they are.
Yeah.
They're not going to come down smiling, and maybe they're hard to break, and you don't know.
Yeah, well, I've always been the opposite in terms of me. I've never been a smiling person, so I know.
But you have a dazzling smile.
Yeah, but
you must have started this lately.
No, but it's not something that I, you know, do to have that open and vivacious face that you can bring. You know, people will just come in. Me, I'm always kind of standoffish, and I guess people get that from me as being, well, you know, Leo's kind of, you know, militant guy or whatever. Especially whites, you know, they have a hard time approaching me, and so I don't.
Well, you know, I know you it's never too late to start. Let me tell you the good thing I can tell you to do, which I love when people do it. You come into a party late or something like that, and then somebody comes up to you and says, oh, you finally made it to the party, okay. Give me a big hug. And if you started saying, give me, you'd see how good you feel.
Well, see, I was not a hugger, and I didn't grow up in a family of huggers, but I bet you did.
Oh, yes.
Your dad.
Oh, yeah.
Came here and when? 1900 something.
Oh, yeah. He was one of the first black men that came from the South when they opened up the railroads and said, we're going to hire black people.
But what was your heritage in terms of your mother or somebody was Seminole? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, my father. My father's.
So you had that Native American thing, and then that love for the soil and for growing
that's my dad.
things.
That's my dad.
Okay.
My dad taught he had each one of us have a garden. And
my grandfather did the same thing.
And the smartest thing you can do with a child, because that child, when he learns how, sensitive the plant is, what makes it grow, makes it produce fruit, and in our lives, aren't we somebody that's coming up from the land and producing things? You can develop a very, very bright, sweet, loving child if you can have him grow a garden. Mm-hmm. And my father had beautiful roses in. Now we were poor, but when you passed our house, my dad had roses in that front yard, and I remember people used to stop and look at the growth because my dad could make anything grow. His mother was a Seminole, pure Seminole Indian, mm-hmm. and he was taught many things. But when anybody in our community had a problem with a plant, they called on my father, and he would make it well. Mm-hmm. It was sick, and he would make it well.
But children today, I don't know, are there programs in the schools that teach gardening, home economics, all the things we used to have that gave you these basic skills? You know, children today, do they know where milk comes from? No. They say, yeah, Safeway. Yeah. So, you know, there's a cow, there's, you know, this whole process. Well, when we came out here, like I said, I came from New Orleans, so we never were rural people as such. No. But my grandfather, I guess it was just his austerity or whatever, but he always insisted on growing his stuff in the backyard, tomatoes. We never went to the store and bought produce. He always had that part of it taken care of because he was always out there digging when he came from work and gardening. And so I've always admired people that, you know, those can grow things.
Those people came from the South. Their parents made them learn these things. Mm-hmm. See, they had big gardens. Because remember, they were very poor down south. My father came from Anniston, Alabama. Mm-hmm. And he had to learn how to plant things early on because they planted everything they had or they might not have eaten as well as they had. And that's why we ate so well. We were never sick. There was never a doctor in our house but once when my sister got an ear infection because my father was a chef and he loved to cook. Mm. And he did. Now let me tell you, these are when you say, why do I smile? Why wouldn't I smile when I grew up seeing a father who got up at the same time every morning going to work? He said, Laura, and never told my mother she's never had to work. He wants her home with the kids because they were both orphaned early. Mm. And they when they had a family of children running around with it, we said, why are they're running around hiding more Easter eggs than we are? Why they're just like two kids? They had never done it. They didn't.
Right. They hadn't grown up with that.
My mother's family died when she was young, and then she married my dad, who his family had died young. So they never got to be a child. Yeah. And so their main thing was their family. When they had a family, when we had an Easter or a Christmas or something, they went overboard because this was the thing they never had as a child. Right. And we used to say, Dad, what are you doing? You know, had a bunch of our friends come in. They'd let all the friends come in. And you know how the mothers are. Well, don't be careful of that sofa over there. Well, they all started coming to our house because they could do anything they wanted to. My mother and father loved children in the house. Mm. So they came to our house. And then Daddy had a little thing he would do in the middle of our thing. He said, okay, my dad was now going to talk about the preacher and the bear. Now that came out of Alabama where he came from. The
preacher and the bear.
The preacher and the bear is a whole story, and he would perform the preacher and the bear, and then he'd be satisfied. He had to do that for our friends who came. So
sounds like a mimic.
Oh yeah, and so they were just like children themselves with us, and they relished us so much, and we got away, and we were never whipped. Now let me tell you what my dad did. He was so smart. He had a great big strap, you know the kind you do.
Right, the real razor straps, yeah.
And one day he called us all in to the bathroom to see his strap. Mm-hmm. And he had it hanging from the wall. He picked it up on, he said, I want you to feel it now. I want you to see how heavy it is. And I want you to see when it's a real thing now. And guess what? If you get into trouble out there, you hurt somebody or do something you shouldn't be doing, this is waiting for you right here. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to hang it on the wall. It's going right there. And he did all that and everything else. And you know my dad never did. Whenever we were punching each other in the house, because he said, oh, I guess I have to go get my strap. Mm-hmm. Well, he walked slowly into it so we could have a chance to dash out of that.
To repent.
To repent. We dashed because, oh, we had heard, so we had seen the thing. It's a big, heavy leather thing, and he's going to whip us with it. You know, my dad, we never got a whipping. One of the things, I guess I can smile, I never got a whipping.
None of our family,
they didn't whip kids.
How many siblings you have?
I have 3 boys.
No, not your children.
There were 5 in our family. See, I had an older sister. She's 9 years older than me, and Stan Wilson, I think you know.
Yeah, the musician.
There was 2 years between him and me, and then I had my sister 2 years between me and her, and so we had 4 kids in the family.
Okay. So your dad, what did he do for a living? I know he came out in the military, right?
Yeah, he came out.
Was that the Presidio?
Yeah, I think the.
So was it chef? Was that something he did in the military, or was that something he learned at home?
He did something wonderful in the military.
Because my grandmother always.
He was among that 10th Cavalry that served under General Black Jack Pershing.
Right.
And they had tried. The Germans had that. They had built those little cement things and were sitting in there, you know, they were shooting those men at San Juan Hill.
Bunkers, yeah.
Well, the government and the military had sent all the people they knew, and nobody could get the Germans out of that house. And couldn't get out of the house, you couldn't get up the hill to rescue I forget the guy whose name, but I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, so Roosevelt was trapped. His brother, Teddy Roosevelt.
San Juan Hill
that was San Juan Hill, and so nobody could get past these guys. And so Black Jack Pershing went to the White House and he said, "Now look, I got these men trained. I trained them. I know that they can get this guy. I can get him out of there." And so the man that was president at the time said, "Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it because I'm believing you, but I don't think if my men couldn't get it out." When he was thinking of the white men that all these people, all these different guys were sending their troops in there, couldn't get them, was shot down because they were going to have to go up a hill and be shot at. He said, "But I know my men because I trained them. They're all black." He was put over all the black 10th Cavalry. And they had to learn how to ride horses, shoot rifles on the horse. He had them well trained. So they had to charge San Juan Hill with the rifle in the hand and have access to a smaller gun and all that. My daddy told me all about it, and he has a scar from it. And he loved to point to his scar. Yeah. He was proud of that. But anyway, do you know they took San Juan Hill, charged up that hill, on horses, and people are shooting at him, and the Germans shooting at him down there, and they had to be brave enough to do that. They went right up there and rescued that man and got rid of those guys. And not a lot was said about it, because, you know, whenever black people do something positive,
the
something that other people didn't do.
History books hide it, but that's what our job is. That was the whole point of Black Studies when we were saying, we've made tremendous contributions to this country. And it's not reflected in the books.
No, never.
You know, we've got heroes. We've got people that have done great things. Oh, well, we'll have a Negro History Week or, you know, class or something. But we said, wait a minute, but we've shined in the sciences and medicine and in so many different areas that could be covered. I remember the big squabble we had about whether or not Swahili was a valid language to try to teach. You teach French, you teach German, you teach Italian. Why wouldn't you think Swahili? Well, that's not really a language. And I said, man, the ignorance.
But you see, you've never seen a movie on San Juan Hill, because if the white men had charged that hill and got that, would have made a great movie. But black men, you couldn't do that movie and not show the black men beating Germans? Give me a break.
No, well, in Spanish American was Spanish, not Germans.
Oh, it was Spanish.
Right. Spanish American War up San Juan Hill.
Yes.
That was the Spanish troops up there that had Roosevelt pinned down. Teddy Roosevelt.
Now you know, these men were on horses. They had to be extra. That's why this Blackjack Persian knew what how
Right.
he trained him. He said, "I've taught him to train. Well, they got to fire a rifle when you're on a horse. That's the whole thing. I don't know how they did it. Daddy had that scar, and he was so proud of that scar, he didn't know what to do.
Yeah, well, how did he get out here with the 10th Cavalry? Because I know they were sent out to patrol Yosemite at one time before it became a park.
Yeah, they did that. They went later when they retired, not semi-retired. They went out to take care of the Yosemite. They had to clean it up.
Yeah, I know, but he was at the Presidio's army. And you said he was a cook.
Oh, no. Then he became, because that was his whole thing was when he got out of the army, he became a chef.
Right.
And he could cook.
Well, that's what I was asking is that did he learn to cook in the military? Because that's what
he
my grandmother always tried to get me to learn how to cook. And I'm sorry to this day that I never learned how to cook. But my grandfather and her sons, they were cooks.
Well, then
and then they went, and when in World War II, they took the black men into the Army, in the Navy, but they wouldn't let them do anything other than cook.
All right. Well, Daddy did, he was on
Right, he was on the war side of things, and they weren't doing that because...
that must have happened. I didn't ever find out where Daddy got but I just thought he went and had a lot of friends who were cooks, and he wanted something to bring money in the house and everything.
Right.
But what he did is everything was fresh. One of the reasons when I think I've never been sick except I had the flu once, and I'm 93
always
years old.
Good food.
And Daddy was always cooking good. But guess what? We got it fresh out of our garden.
Right. Well,
since I was 5 years
before
old,
they were spraying all these pesticides and all that other stuff.
And my dad died from that.
Is that right?
Oh yeah. When he got older, because they never had it before.
Right.
But my dad retired from his job, and then he went to work extra because he still loved to plant. So he went around to some of the stores, the major stores, and he took care of their gardens.
Okay.
And so they were spraying the gardens, and they thought that he probably knew about all these things. But that's how my father died. He died from from being
around those chemicals,
privy to having to smell all those. He took care of a lot of the big department stores' gardens because he could make anything grow.
Right.
And if anybody had a plant that was dying, my father could
deal with it.
Give it life.
Yeah.
But he just had that knack. And all the Indians had that knack.
Yeah.
They were born with a gift from God to serve the community.
Well, I think we have come to the end of the road, and unfortunately, when you're having fun, time just flies.
Well, you and I always have fun.
Right, but we have to do this again. We have to get Mr. Jimmy Guy to put us down again because there's so much that I want to talk to you about and the growth of our communities on this side of the Bay, and you have been an integral part of all of that. So I've enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you. I have too.